Gentile here with this month's Stamp Club Online video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful Christmas card. So for this card, what you'll need is this stamp set here, Joyful Christmas from the Holiday Happiness catalog. You're also going to need these things. These are called Frosted Finishes. They're really pretty embellishments with rhinestones in them, also from the Holiday catalog. You're going to need some silver string, scissors, glue dots, bone folder. You're going to need dazzling details and a paintbrush. You're also we're going to be doing a bunch of Big Shot stuff. So you're going to need, this is the Apothecary Accents dies, and this is the Edgelet Finishing Touches dies, and an embossing folder which is Petals of Plenty, and of course your Big Shot. You're just going to need one ink for that. That's the Versamark ink. We're going to use silver embossing powder. You'll need the embossing buddy, and of course a heat tool for embossing. You'll also need something to score the paper with. I'm going to use the Simply Scored scoring tool. For cardstock, you're going to need one piece of 11 by 4 1/4. You're going to need another piece that is 4 1/4 by 4. Another piece that is 3 by 2. These are all Whisper White. Then I've got a piece of cardstock vellum here that is 4 by 4. Then a piece of silver paper, which is in the Holiday Happiness catalog, and that is 4 by 0.75 of an inch. And then a piece of silver glimmer paper, which is 4 by 1/2 of an inch. First thing you do is you're going to take your piece of Whisper White cardstock, and you're just going to score it out 4 1/2 and 10 inches. And then you'll fold that up. Use your bone folder to get a nice sharp crease. Like that, and that's going to form the base of your card, and it's just fun because it opens in a different way. Okay, so first step I'm going to do is I'm going to run the embossing buddy over the smallest piece of white cardstock and the vellum cardstock, and that's just to take any static out of the paper so that I don't get any extra little pieces of silver anywhere. Just makes a nicer finished product. And then I'm going to take my Versamark with my Joyful Christmas Wishes and stamp that. And as long as you're working quickly, you can go ahead and ink up the next thing too. So I'm going to ink this upside down just because it's a large stamp. And that's going to go right on the vellum. And then both are going to get into the embossing powder. When I've got two things like that, I like to shake one to the other. Give it a shake, and you see that there's no extra pieces of embossing powder that have fallen on here. If there was anything, there's maybe one speck, just brush it away, and that's what the embossing buddy makes. Nice. And just a little flick on the back again, that's pretty perfect. So now I'm just going to take my heat tool and I'm going to heat those up until they melt. Okay, so I've embossed both pieces, and I'm going to cut this one out with a Big Shot, and this one I'm just going to cut with my Paper Sip scissors. I'm just going to cut close to the embossed line and just cut all of that out. Okay, so I finished cutting this piece of vellum out with the pretty flower. Now I'm going to do is take a bit of my Dazzling Details and just squirt it out on my placemat. This is like a glue almost. It has glitter in it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint my flower with it. And it dries clear and shiny, and then you've got that extra little sparkle in there, so it's super pretty. So I'm just going to paint this whole thing. So I've painted the whole thing, and the thinner the coat, the faster it'll dry. It doesn't matter if you miss some spots because it does dry clear. It's just going to add a little extra sparkle. And you can see already as it's starting to dry, it's kind of curling the poinsettia a bit. And that's fine, we can just curl the leaves whichever way we want later. So I'm going to put that aside to dry. It really will take probably up to a couple of hours to dry, so you might want to do a few of these up ahead of time and finish your card and then attach them later. Okay, so the next bit is all going to be on the Big Shots. I'm going to take my Petals of Plenty folder and the next largest piece of white cardstock and stick it in the folder. And then I'm going to put this on tab 1. I'm going to use my plates. You notice I'm using plates that are just for the folder, so there's no cutting marks on them. It just makes a nicer impression. So the sandwich is plate, folder and paper, other plate, and away it goes. And you get that beautiful embossed image. Now while I've got this here, I'm also going to emboss this little silver piece. Now on my sample, I have it debossed, so these parts are raised up and these parts are not. If you want that look, what you want to do is wherever it says Stampin' Up on a folder, that's where the raised image is going to be. So I'm going to take my silver piece and I'm going to turn it upside down so I get that raised piece on the back side. So now you can see the raised art is on the back side, and on the silver side it's debossed instead of embossed. For this next part, you're going to use the magnetic platform, a cutting plate. I'm going to put my stamped image down, and then this metal frame from the Apothecary Accents die. Notice how it just clings right to the metal frame, and that way I can center that image right on the die. And then another plate on top, and it will cut that out. You can see that cuts it out perfectly centered. And the other thing we'll do with the magnetic platform here is we're going to cut the edge of this silver piece with a finishing touch edgelet. And again, what's nice about the magnetic platform is that's going to stick right to there, and I don't have to worry about it moving as I go through the big shot. Okay, so I've got that nice finished edge. So now we got all our pieces cut and embossed and stamped. It's just a matter of assembly. So I'm going to take this embossed piece and lay it on the front of the card. That's a nice white on white look, very pretty. And then the same with the little stang. I'm going to put it down here towards the bottom. And then I'm going to attach this little silver trim piece. Now this silver, it's very slippery on the back, so I tend to put tape here instead. And I'm going to stick it right along the edge here. And then the ribbon, I'm going to lay it on here and get it even, like that. Make sure it's flat on the back. Okay. Now I'm going to take tape on here, and I'm going to add that silver piece, actually a bit more, just like that. So that is actually going to hold the ribbon in place. Okay, and then I'm going to add a dimensional, maybe 2, in the very center of this flower, because it's going to get covered up by that little finishing piece. I'm just going to hold that ribbon straight, because this is also going to help hold the ribbon on. I'm just going to position that so you can still see the words. And right over top of that ribbon, so it's going to hold that ribbon on. And then I'm going to get a glue dot and stick the center piece down. I'm going to grab a couple glue dots and stick that right in the center. So pretty! And then the final step is I'm just going to tie a pretty little bow in this. It's nice and thin ribbon, so it's easy to tie. I'm actually going to tie a little bit of a knot. Just a nice loose one, so it's easy for the person to get this undone. And then a little bow. And then just a little trim. And you can see with this one, this has not been painted because my painted one is still drying. So here's the difference between this one and this one. You can see that this one's much more shimmery, a little more crumply. This one, once you have that painted piece, if you want to make sure you're curling those flowers, you can just use your bone folder and kind of curl them up like. So both versions are very pretty.